Cool. Well, this is going to be our post-Olympia recap. Um, we've already had Andrea on before, so she doesn't need much of an introduction. She's here now. She wasn't here last time because I didn't
What's
want
my
to jinx
last
her
time?
potential of of getting to the
What's
2020.
your last time I was crying in the gym watching the video, not being on the list, but I moved on.
But you're gonna be there again. We know you're gonna be there.
We're gonna get there.
Yeah.
And also new to the show, you've got Kaylee. Wait, did I say that right? Right? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. You just told me how to pronounce it. It just like went over my head. Okay. Sorry.
I do. That's all good. You're
Yeah.
good.
Kaylee, if you want to introduce yourself a bit.
Cool. Yeah, I'm Kaylee. I am one of like a very, very small handful of Canadian fitness amateurs, which means I get to compete by myself a lot. My first show was 2015, and I had no idea what I was doing. And then took some time off because my body said no. And then I've been back competing for the last just under a year again. So that's about me. I grew up figure skating. I dance a lot. Yep.
I love that.
Cool. Yeah, let's just get into it. What are our
Sweet.
thoughts? How do we feel? Missy is back on top.
I feel like this was a great Olympia. I feel
Yeah.
like field wise, this was probably one of the most stacked Olympias that there has been in a while. Like, just as far as the depth of the lineup, like you go all the way down to the end to 12th place, and you're like, that's what 12th place looks like. Like, I feel like sometimes in the Olympia, there's like a very, very large gap. And I don't feel like there were large gaps this year. I
Mm.
was super impressed, especially with the physique round. I was just like, these people are insane.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I
Yep.
think part of that is due to the fact that they got rid of the point system. And now that it's just like, if you are a real winner, then you get to be on that stage. And that makes, I think, a huge difference on like who gets in. No offense to the people who've been there on points, but
Yeah, I'm kind of split on that. I actually just wrote in the group
Oh yeah, I
oh,
saw
about,
that.
I just wrote in the group because I was like, well, I don't know, because the year, the last time Jacqueline got into the Olympia on points, she got silver that year.
that's true. That is true.
And I didn't say this in the group, but now if anybody's watching the podcast, they're going to hear me say it now. Um, it's also because this happened with my husband because he got in on points that last year there was points, is because basically the conversation, just to bring everybody up to speed, is we're just trying to figure out how to get more people at the Olympia, how to get more shows, whatever. And we're saying like, oh, we think fitness should go back to points. And in my opinion, that's like to get more representation at the Olympia. But some people were saying like, well, no, you have to earn it, blah, 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 whatever. And I was saying like, I don't think that somebody getting there on points makes them less worth it. And I was like, I'm not just saying this because I would have killed points this year.
That's true.
But one of the things is like, let's say there were points and I got there on points this year. We have to remember out of the lineup of people who won shows, I beat three of them this year.
Yeah, exactly.
So the
Yeah.
year my husband went on points, he beat like six people on that lineup that won shows. So I mean, I feel like there's limitations to points because there are sometimes if you just spend a lot of money and you compete at every single show, of course, you're probably going to get a lot of points and maybe you're not really going to be up to the right standard. Reagan, no, ma'am, no, ma'am. Oh, no, no. She has the iPad right here. You have to turn it all the way down there.
Mhm. I think the other thing
Anywho,
too is like I know there were a couple shows in and around the year, less for fitness, but some other divisions that are just a lot smaller shows. There were a couple here in BC that were really small shows. And there were some people that punched their tickets to the Olympia in other divisions um, that won. And you consider that it was a small show, that it was like maybe we'll see local people and they punched their ticket compared to, say, people that are like, okay, I'm only going to do two shows this year. And they're going to be like the Arnold Classic and some other
Right.
big show, right? So
Yeah.
it's, a win isn't necessarily a win. They're not necessarily all here, right? And what points I think was
Yeah.
good for is that if you came second at the Arnold Classic, that that was weighted differently than,
Right. Yeah.
so there was like a little bit of a balance there, and it wasn't like, oh, this tiny show that only three people came to and I won versus a lineup of like the some of the best people, right? There was a little bit more balance there. So I think points have the potential to be good for that. Whereas like now it doesn't matter if you win a big show or a small show, like you're there,
Yeah.
right? So
Well, and that year, that's how Jacqueline won the points board. She literally only competed twice. She placed at the Olympia and she placed at the Arnold, and she had 22 points. And the
yeah,
next person had like 16. Like she killed
yeah,
everybody in points because she placed at two shows and it was just the two biggest shows. But
yeah,
anyway,
exactly.
back to the
Yes.
Olympia.
Back to now. Sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry. I didn't mean to
Yeah.
derail
yeah,
us. But good points,
yeah.
everyone.
I will
Very
go
good
off on
points.
every tangent.
Oh yes. Well, and I think it does matter because like I mean, when I was watching Ruben, like there's 56 men's physique guys, and like
Mhm.
how many like 30 something wellness competitors, right? And then you have 11 fitness, which is nice because then everyone ranks, right? And you're not just like 16th forever. But yeah, it'd be nice to have more fitness girls on the stage, but
More
that's a
representation.
whole other can of worms, right?
Yeah. But overall, I thought it was a great show. It was really amazing to see the physiques live. Um, let's see, what do we want to discuss about it? Physique round first?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Let's
me
do
as
it.
well.
You want me to pull up any comparison? I'll pull up comparison pictures. Hold on.
That's a good
Sharing
idea.
the screen. I think I want to share. Hold on. Switching, making sure the right stuff is open. Do 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 do. Come on. That's not the one. This is the one. All right, cool. Sharing that one.
Yeah, I think one of the things that was true, just as you're like pulling it up,
Okay.
um,
All right.
is the everybody's conditioning, to kind of to Andrea's point about it being such a strong year, especially with fitness, right? You often get some people that are a little softer and some people that are kind of harder and closer to that figure standard, but everyone came in with their conditioning like really good,
Yeah.
which was
Mhm.
part of what made it such a strong lineup. So that was
Yeah,
awesome.
I agree.
Kudos to all those people that did that.
Oh,
Yeah.
this is just when they first came out and they brought everyone out. Let me try to find. Do 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 do. Oh, these are like kind of fuzzy. I am disappointed. Come on, NPC News Online. This is still that call out or
Oh,
first.
the first
The
group.
alphabetical. Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say Missy, as usual, was completely lights out. It wasn't even close.
Oh. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. That was no
Um,
surprise there for
Yeah.
sure.
it
Let's see. Here we
wasn't
go. Is it? I think
close.
Yeah.
this is first call out. Am I able to zoom up? Are you guys seeing this good?
Yeah, I mean it's kind of small,
Yeah, that
but
is.
Yeah.
Is that gonna do anything? Not
well,
really.
I have to pause you guys for a second. I mean, I don't know if I'm paused. I'm just sending a text message.
All right, so I think this is the first call out before they switcherooed some people.
Oops, hold
Yeah.
on.
I think so. Yeah. 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 It's a little small for me, but that's because I'm on my phone, which is entirely my own doing. Maybe I'll
Right.
try and pull them up on my computer just at the same time so that
Yeah.
I can actually
Probably go to,
see. Yeah.
yeah, sorry, let me go to was it Wings of Strength? Search, search, search.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, I think they had good ones, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good idea. Okay, I'm gonna just pull them up at the same time
Don't
on
mind me,
my
everyone.
Sorry, anyone who's watching, please hold as we.
cut this part out if we need
Should have
to.
done my homework. Oh, it's not on here. NPC News Online, that's also gonna usually
Yeah.
have stuff.
I mean, thankfully it's not a crazy huge lineup, so with the was it 11 or 12 people, it's easy enough to kind of remember compared to
Yeah. Oh, I
like a
remember them all.
30 something. Yeah, exactly. This is no, that's not what I want. I'm trying to see if Lindsay's strength has
Muscle
any
inside
clinical
the
photos on their
body.
actual website. Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, Simon's great. Um, he's been shooting for as long as I've been competing.
I love Simon.
He was so sweet because I mean I was off for 7 years and I saw him backstage at the Van Pro this summer and he was like, "Hey, it's really good to see you back competing again." I was like,
Oh,
"Man,
wow.
that's awesome!"
It was
Like
very
out of
early.
all of the people you shoot,
I
and
guess.
you remember me, and
Oh,
it's
there you
like,
go. All right. Well, this is the top four of the physique round.
mhm,
I think this is the final four, I believe. Yeah.
I think
All right.
so. Yeah,
So who
Is it
wants to
straight
showing?
ones for Missy.
I don't see it. Is it? Did I turn it off? Did you
Oh,
turn
do
it
you
off?
not? You don't see it? Oh no.
I can see it, so it might be just you, I'm afraid.
Um, you have to swipe to something. Oh, wait. Oh, okay, I see. Yeah, easily straight ones for Missy, and I think easily
Yeah,
straight twos for Tam.
yeah,
Now, I will say, I am not surprised that it was not unanimous between Allison and Jacqueline.
100%.
Um,
Yeah, it was 17 to 18, I think, for
yeah,
Jacqueline. Super
I
close there.
actually said that in my own vlog. I said, Allison's shape when you're standing next to Missy, like if Missy is the standard, Allison looks more like Missy than Jacqueline does.
Mm,
Oh yeah, she's got that itty bitty waist with the nice taper
Mhm.
and everything.
Yeah.
100%.
Now, Jacqueline's conditioning in real life, I can't really tell. Jacqueline's conditioning in real life, I think, was not significantly, but I mean, noticeably better than Allison's. So that's why I was
Mm,
like, oh, I don't know. It's going to depend because I do think Jacqueline had better conditioning. But I mean, when you have the shape and muscularity that Allison does, you don't have to have that kind of conditioning necessarily.
Yeah.
mm.
So I
And I know
knew it
that
was
that was something they
really,
got after her for a while was like
yeah,
coming more conditioned. And now that she has,
exactly.
it's like, there you are, first call out.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I
this is
agree.
like the infinitely better than any other show I feel like she showed up as with her conditioning. As far as conditioning goes, like this is amazing.
Absolutely. And she took off the Arnold this year. And I think that was a very, very good move for her because she was saying, I got to get I got to get my metabolism in check because I'm on basically no food and still not being able to come in tight. So she took off the Arnold so that she had enough time to repair her health and build her calories back up. And it obviously paid off. And she did mention that this is like the most she's ever been able to eat before a show. Like she had a burger and fry the night before the show. It's just like this never happens ever. So
Yeah, she really put
taking
in the
off that
work.
show definitely was really good for her.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome.
And she moved up what? She was, I want to say like 7 or 8 last year.
Yeah, pretty low
So
last year.
she really bumped up, particularly with a really good score in the physique round. So that's fantastic.
I
I'm gonna pull up
completely.
the scorecards too at the same time, just because
Yeah. Who was it that
I'm
came in
numbers.
fifth for physique? Was it Amy?
Amy, Amy, and then Michelle, I believe.
Let's
Yeah,
see.
Michelle was having some sort of issue with her maybe shoulder or lats or
mhm.
something with
I know
her
she's had a lot of
mobility.
injuries. Yeah,
So Michelle's posing was like a little bit strange. And I did chat with Michelle at like the after party or whatever. And she basically was like, I'm doing whatever I want. These people, they told me that I was too big, so I downsized. And I think that I downsized too much. And I don't like my physique. And obviously, they don't like my physique anymore either. So I'm doing whatever I want. If I want to get bigger, I'm going to get bigger. So I'm excited to see her at the Arnold
yeah.
kind of back to her normal because at the UK Arnold, Sandy said Michelle's physique is the standard.
Yeah,
This is what we're
she
looking
did.
for this year. And
Yeah.
then she basically did not come with that same physique. And she basically said, okay, I'm not doing that. I'm doing what I was doing before.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I mean,
So
to be
I'm
honest, like I know
glad.
that they had said to her to downsize, but compared to, I mean, I don't know, I liked her shape even before they told her to downsize. I thought she had, great proportions, and especially when you look at kind of our partners in the figure division, if you will, so many of
Exactly.
them are so much bigger, and she was not, if you had to put her next to a lot of figure girls, you would not have said, oh
Yeah.
yeah, she's really way too big. It's just that
Exactly.
fitness tends to be a little bit smaller, right?
I
So
agree.
I mean, I'm excited to see what she does. I think that kind of her marching to the beat of her own drum, I bet you it's going to be gorgeous because,
Yeah, I
she's smart
completely
and she
agree.
knows what looks good.
Like they actually told Missy the same thing a few years ago. Um, and last year I feel like Missy nailed it. Like, because I agree. 2 years ago, I was like, Missy looks like women's physique in heels. Like, this is too much. And I guess that's what her feedback was. But then last year she came back tiny waist. Like I was like, okay, yes, this is the standard. But I never really thought that Michelle was too big. But I don't
Yeah,
know. Maybe
agreed.
just they just felt like she looked too big. I'm not really sure.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
she's just she just has the roundest like muscle bellies, I think, that gives it like a pop that
Makes it, yeah,
yeah.
I
100%.
agree.
Yeah. And she just has the small waist, which if you don't have genetics that lean that way, it's pretty darn hard to,
Yeah,
you know, like you can't,
hard to
unless you
fake it.
take out a
Yeah,
rib or something, you can't really do
yep,
much there. And so,
I agree.
yeah,
Daddy's home. Go over there.
I feel like
just
we should talk about Taylor since she'll pop up later and people are gonna be like, you didn't talk about this
the
person.
whole
I thought
thing.
she placed third.
He's
Hmm.
coming. I hear the garage opening. Yeah, Taylor's physique, it definitely made large improvements. And I don't think that what I love about this year's physique for Taylor is I think that people realize this year how muscular she is because I mean, obviously she built muscle, but her shoulders, her shape, her back, they've kind of always been bigger like that, like dense for her size. She's a very petite person. Honestly, I feel like her biggest improvement was her legs.
Yeah.
She did not have lines like that or size like that in her. Like she had that shape from before. Like you know how many handstands that girl does in her daily life, her
Right.
shoulders
And
and
all
her
the
back are
pull-ups she
built.
does and everything. Yeah.
Exactly. All the
Yeah.
pull-ups, all the handstands. She's been built in the
Yeah.
upper body.
Yeah.
But her conditioning came in better and her legs came in a little bit better. Reagan, stop.
Right. I think
Um,
that's so much of it. Yeah. The conditioning side too.
mhm. Obviously, yeah, when you're leaner, your muscles are going to look bigger.
Right. And I
Um,
think that was a lot of what people were kind of grumpy about last year, if, whatever.
yeah.
But because she, again, and she's open about the fact that she's a natural athlete, right? So the fact that she has come in this conditioned as well, like I think is
Mhm.
fantastic because people were, I think a lot of it was like, oh, she's not even lean and blah blah
Yeah.
blah. And now that she's leaner, you can really see the shape and you can see that she does have like that bodybuilding shape instead of
Yeah.
people just thinking that she was just like some person that's good at handstands, right?
Right.
And so I think that's fantastic. I'm super excited for her to have made such a great
Yeah,
improvement
I'm
this
excited
year.
to see what another year. I don't know if she's going to do the Arnold or not, but I'm excited to see what another year of bodybuilding does for
Yeah.
her.
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah. I feel like she probably has a while before she hits her limit. I feel like just with how much
Right.
she's gone so far in a short amount of time. It's like she's probably has more that she can like bring.
Mhm.
That's very exciting.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Again? No.
Anything else we want to cover? Let's see, who else was in the winning? Who we got? Thinking of like whoever placed that we might
Um,
all our show.
Jacqueline, which we kind of already talked about, and I think that's it. That's the top five. They only announced five.
All right.
Normally about six.
Should we go into routines now?
Yeah.
Cool.
Reagan, it's enough. Sorry, YouTube. Y'all are getting mom's version of me.
All right. I don't know
As
if
we're moving into routine, I do have one little bone to pick that's like the time is maybe it's a small thing, but it drives me nuts. So when you search the scorecards, just like Google, fitness scorecards
Mhm.
2024 or whatever, the top result has just straight incorrect scores for the fitness division, and it just
What
makes
did
my
you
eye twinge a little. Like they just, I don't know what they did, and it's all 2024, and they like basically just kind of wrote the scores into their website instead of actually posting like a photo of the scorecard. But they just kind of, I don't know where they got the numbers, because they aren't the totals, they aren't the routine round, and they aren't the physique round. So they just kind of arbitrarily decided that Missy got a 5 and Jacqueline got a 10, and then everyone else from there. So I'm like a
Interesting.
little confused by that, and a little bit annoyed that it's like the very first thing on
The
that
first
you
thing,
find when
yeah.
it pops up on Google instead of like the correct results. But
Yeah.
here we are.
all right. So I'm just gonna say no surprise that Taylor was gonna get straight
First.
first.
Yeah, straight runs.
I was actually kind of, well, not knowing what Missy was going to bring, I still kind of thought she would place second, like just assumed it. So it's
Yeah.
quite interesting to see Jacqueline. I mean, it was clearly split between the two of them, but
Hmm.
it was pretty cool and exciting, I think, to see Jacqueline come out on second for the routines.
I agree. And
Yeah.
to be honest, I think that, I mean, it's hard because now I've watched these routines multiple times. You have to also remember, like, okay, these judges watch it one time, Reagan. Are we following directions? These judges watch it one time. I don't know if they're taking notes. I hope at the Olympia they're taking notes or something. Maybe they're just basing it on their heart. But I will say, I was very surprised that I was just surprised at some of the rankings. I felt like Tam's routine was ranked a lot lower than I anticipated it ranking. This
Yeah.
was, and again, this could also, this is personal preference. I watched the routine again. I'm like, you know what? She didn't actually do a lot of skills. It was a lot of performance and not a lot of skills. However, it was still a great performance. I didn't see or notice mistakes in her routine. I felt like it was one of the more fun routines to watch. Like if I go back and think like, okay, what were like just my favorite routines to watch? Jacqueline, Taylor, Tam. That was like my personal top three. And so I was really shocked to see her rank that low in routine. And maybe it's just because I know what to expect, but I saw a good number of mistakes in Missy's routine. And I was just like, are we judging with emotions right now? Because she has you know what I mean? Like, are we judging the story or are we judging the routine?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, it's,
I
yeah.
don't know that it should have even been split between Jacqueline and Missy, to be completely honest.
Yeah, I think that's true, and I was thinking much more about that as the last couple of days have passed, right? And I mean, obviously, no one's going to be like, "Ah, it's like Missy doesn't have a good story, and I'm not excited that she was able to come back." Like, right? Everyone is super super stoked for
Yeah,
her, and making such a comeback is remarkable, right? Um, but I know that everyone was labeling it like the story of the weekend, and
right.
were
It was already
people
a
were people more
preconceived
invested?
idea
Yeah, did people feel her
of the
Sparta
concept. So,
intensity that much more because they knew kind of the
yeah,
personal impact, right?
yeah,
Almost maybe could have primed the judges a little bit
I,
um, in that direction, which is interesting because if you consider that they were potentially judging with more heart, I mean, I think Tam's routine had a lot of that and it was really engaging. And so those two, I guess, they don't quite, as far as that judging with emotion, they don't quite line up. But
well,
yeah,
here's what I just think like, and this, I've said this actually multiple times about just fitness judging in general. It's like, not a gripe that I have with fitness judging, but it's something that I do think they need to get to be more consistent with is judging. Like, of course, the scores are separate, but I do think that physiques impact judging routine. What am I trying to say? I think that physique round impacts routine round more than it should.
Yeah, like saying like if they placed
I think
high
if
in
if
the
if I would have gone on stage and done exactly what Missy did, would I be tied for third in the world at the Olympia? Would I have gotten a third place score at the Olympia, even if I were the last place physique? If I did exactly what she did, would I have gotten that score? No, absolutely not. And so it's like, I don't know. It's really interesting because again, on the flip side, Tam got second in physique round and then like kind of got killed in routine. Not killed, but
yeah.
I think she got like
But it
fifth
dropped her.
or
Yeah, I
something.
feel like that
Yeah.
happens to Tam a lot also. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I don't know why, because she always has really good, she has great skills. She has good energy. Like, she's very strong and everything.
I do think that she does spend a lot of time not doing skills.
That's true. She's,
That's
Like if
fair.
you just like literally start a timer on someone's routine, I always do this because when I did choreography with Whitney, like the first thing she said was like, we need to start with a bang. Like we're not starting with that slow thing that you did before. And so now I just have this thing, like just with myself that I just do, not even consciously. As soon as someone's routine starts, I count how long it takes for them to do a skill. And I'm like, it's been
Interesting.
15 seconds. Why are you still not doing anything? You're like, when are you going to do a skill?
yeah.
You know what I mean? And I just count how long. How long does it
Yeah.
take until the next skill happens? Like, yes, of course, there's an element of performance, but you have to think if there's a 2 minute routine and you only did 7 skills,
That's a lot of break.
like
Yeah.
that's a lot of not doing skills, right? So that is one thing about Tam is that she's a fantastic performer. Um, but her routines are not super skill heavy, which of course there's a balance. You don't want to just be doing skill, 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 no performance. But I think at the Olympia, when you do have people who marry the two so well that,
Mhm.
it does come down. But I will say Tam's routine was still my favorite one. Like if I had to just go back and watch one over and over and over again, even though I think that Jacqueline's was like perfect. I think Jacqueline's
Yeah.
routine was perfect. But I still
Yeah. I
think
think
just
she said
entertainment
she didn't
wise,
make any errors.
like entertainment wise, style wise, I think I just like Tam's the best. And then obviously Taylor's was just like so skill heavy, but very sloppy for Taylor.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. She was pretty mad or disappointed in herself, I think, based on what she had posted and stuff.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But
And I
honestly,
mean, oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say like there are a couple moves I was like, oh, I don't think she meant to do that, but I was like impressed by how she caught herself. Like she did a back handspring and was I think she was supposed to stop in a handstand
Oh,
and she just
totally
fell
different
down but
stuff.
caught it. It's did a
Yeah.
straddle hold instead and went back up. I was like, who can do that?
How did you do that? I know.
Yeah.
Like I
She
think
Yeah,
played it off
everyone knew
so
it was
well.
wrong, but she still fixed it. It was perfect how she fixed it. Like what?
I know. Well, and that's what like I think a lot of those things were not noticeable to most people. To be honest, the only
100%.
reason that I like noticed most of them is because I just competed against her. I've already seen her routine.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I already know like what she's supposed to do. You know what I mean? Like, but
Mhm.
of course I know she was super upset about it. But I mean, the skills that she does, mistakes or not, bobbles or not, are just insane. It's insane.
Yeah, for sure.
And I
Yeah.
think it's going to be a lot. I honestly don't think that anyone who's currently competing is ever going to catch her in routine. I just don't see it happening. Like, because she's already as good as she is and she's only going to get better. Hello. Even if I start learning something, hello, by the time I've learned what she competed this year, she's on to the next. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I honestly don't think, I think the only chance that realistically somebody has to catch her skill wise routine is somebody else in the calisthenics world who decides to become a bodybuilder.
There was actually this year the North Americans winner. She was actually extremely, yeah. she got second place in routine because I think her performance wasn't super great, but her actual skills were like pretty like solid. Like she was doing handstand push-ups and all these crazy like calisthenics.
Yeah.
So I'm like, if she
I
could
do.
clean up her performance,
Yeah.
then she could be the next
There
one.
was someone I competed against last year at Ben Weeder. Now I feel bad because I can't remember her name.
Rosie
Rosie.
Burr.
Yes. Rosie, I think, has a lot of potential, but her like routine composition was not great. But I remember watching her warm up and I was like, what?
Oh yeah. Oh, I know. Because I've seen her video. She does like one arm handstands. Like no one
Yes.
else does
She did
that.
that in her routine.
Yeah.
And I literally remember texting Taylor and I was like, I'm about to lose this show to this girl. She could be in a bikini before. I remember I was shocked, but then her routine just wasn't amazing, but her skills are
Yeah.
very cool and very unique.
Yeah. Yeah. And she's so flexible. So flexible.
Yeah, it's off the charts.
Yeah.
It's
And
not going to happen for me.
I think that's one thing that is so neat about Taylor, right? Is that a lot of the time a fitness skill comes on and then it becomes popular and then one person does it and then a lot of people do it and like it's still an impressive skill, right? I think they even like the crop hold and the one arm crop was like that, right? And then it kind of starts with one person and it kind of just dissipates to almost everybody, right? Whereas Taylor comes up
No,
and she does a lot of things that nobody else does, and in a lot of cases probably no one else can do, right? So there are a lot of things that the judges have never seen, and yet they can easily look at those things and they're like, I've never seen this before, like that planche push up that I know she intended to put in her routine, for example. Right? The judges probably haven't seen that from anybody else, but they can immediately look at that and be like, dang, that is a really hard strength move, right? So it's easy to identify that it's hard in a way, and
Yeah.
yet it hasn't been seen before. So it's kind of that like beautiful little Venn diagram of like brand new, but also easy to tell that it's impressive,
Yeah.
right? Which is we all aim for that, and she just does that really, really well.
Yeah.
So
Oh my gosh. Reagan, turn it down or go to your dad. Oh, yeah, she's out. Hey, go on the bed. I'm so sorry, you guys. I'm muting this so I can get her out of here.
No
do
worries.
what you got to do. Yeah, I'm just
Okay.
gonna. What I like to do. I meant to do before we started, but I like to basically
Turn
like
it down.
dummy the scorecard, and then I can sort it to like put people in different orders too, and then it just like I don't know, spreadsheet fiend.
Oh,
To
yeah.
like wrap my
Oh,
brain
yeah.
around
I
it,
love
right?
doing that. So I will
It's like
say, while you're doing that, I will say with the routine. So how I was saying, I don't think it should have been split between Jacqueline and Missy. I think Jacqueline should have been, I should think Jacqueline should have gotten 20.
Yeah.
That wouldn't have
yeah,
changed the order of the final outcome
yeah,
because the physiques were so close.
yeah,
Now, what I will say is if Tam would have ranked higher, like third or fourth in physique or in routine over Missy, I really don't know that I believe she deserved to rank higher as far as skills go. Again, Missy's routine was very skill heavy, but like I said, I do think she was ranked low. So I do think there was potential here for Jacqueline to win. I think Jacqueline has a title in her future.
oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I
For
mean,
me.
obviously, I'm biased, but
Yeah,
I really want her to win, right?
I think Jacqueline has a title in her future. Um,
Yeah.
because obviously these scores were not unanimous. However, if they had been, she would have won because she would have gotten 15 in physique and she would have gotten 20 in finals. And that I think would have resulted in a tie score between her and Missy, which would break to her because she had a higher ranking routine.
Yep.
So, I mean, I think it's coming soon for her, but I do think it's like a race. I think it's going to be a race between Jacqueline and Taylor on who can close the gap faster. If Taylor brings her physique up by 3 rankings, nobody's going to beat her
Yeah.
because nobody can beat her in routine. So
Yep.
as soon as her physique ranking is high enough to clinch the win, nobody can beat her. So it's going to be like, okay, is Taylor going to build her physique fast enough? Or is Jacqueline going to start separating her routine to clinch that second place? You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
then
Well, and what was, yeah.
there's also Allison coming up. Because if Allison starts catching Jacqueline before Jacqueline can separate herself in that routine route, like it's really interesting because I definitely see Jacqueline winning in the future, but I also see Taylor winning in the future. But I think that once Taylor starts winning, she's not going to stop.
Mhm.
I just don't think unless everybody else keeps bringing those physiques so that basically no matter how good her physique gets, it still stays in that low
Yeah,
whatever.
I see.
Doesn't
Like if
fall out.
everyone is elevated together, like at
Right.
the same rate or
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Well, the thing that's
Taylor
interesting,
has
just,
shape on her side. So
yeah.
once
Yeah.
she already has the shape, which is I mean, you can't really once you have shape, like you just
There
have
you are.
shape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So once she's a little bit more muscular and comes in peeled, then she's starting to beat people. So I don't know. I think it's really interesting because I mean it's really interesting and it's really exciting to have multiple people who really could win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
And
you have other divisions. Well, now not anymore figure and classic
Oh,
SOS.
right.
You
right.
have these other divisions where it's like it's
Scales.
a fight for second, everybody.
Yeah.
You're all racing to second place. Like I really feel like anyone in our top three, like next
Can
year
pull
could
it
be the
out.
winner. Yeah.
Yep. 100%.
But
Well, and I
I
think
would
there's
just
two.
love as a
Mm,
fan to see Jacqueline win soon.
yes. Me too. Biased. I think the thing that's interesting about particularly Jacqueline and Missy's routine scores is I know, Andrea, we were talking about this because I had my little brain fart, right? Because I didn't remember that the 9 judges that they dropped 2 highs and 2 lows, right? So what's
Mhm.
interesting when you look at the scores is that pretty close everything that got kept for most of them, like they kind of almost like both got straight 2s in a way,
Right.
right?
Yes.
Because straight 2s is
Hmm.
20, right? So
Hmm.
Jacqueline got 22, but like Missy got 26. So most of the scores that got kept for her were also
Also
twos,
choose. Hmm.
right? So it's there. It's like almost like second and second and a half, right? Which is so
Yeah.
interesting that there was that because that I mean obviously like we said if it had been different and the rankings had been unanimous then there would have been like a tie that split. But I think that part is is really interesting too, just how that broke and what got kept because basically everyone that decided that both of them ranked second, those scores got kept, so kind of balances out
Right.
that way. But another thing that I think that's kind of interesting about the battleground for that top spot too is the balance, like the time balance. Like I know Jacqueline said in her vlog, she's like, I'm not sure how much longer I'm going to feel like my heart is in this.
Hmm.
She's been competing. It's like was her 7th Olympia, right? So she's been doing this, and obviously her experience absolutely shows. And so it's interesting because you consider someone with her level of experience on one side, whereas Taylor, relatively speaking, is still a newbie in a lot of ways, right? Like this is when people forget this is like her second pro season, right? So
Yeah.
there's still a lot of time there. So it's interesting, I guess, to in some ways almost you're looking at is it the wisdom and experience or is it that kind of the fresh meat in a way. So it makes for a
Yeah.
really cool dynamic. And yeah, I think there's so much up for I was going to say debate, but like the results are so up in the air, even,
Yeah.
going into shows and predicting there's like anything could happen, which I think is really cool.
Yeah. It's wild. I do wish, like I said before, that there was like a little bit more clarity on the routine scoring. Oh, actually, I'm going to sidebar completely off of that particular topic, but back to this. Um, why did Amy not get a DNF?
I noticed
I
that
was
too.
wondering that.
I mean, she did
What
her
on
routine
earth?
and then she just
She did
walked off.
a little bit, which it like, why would you give her a score? Like, yes, you gave her last place in the routine.
Mhm.
However, she didn't really fit, like, she didn't finish.
Yeah, Missy got a DNF last year, and I think that
Missy got a
she
DNF.
hurt herself further into her routine than Amy
Yes.
was when the music mishaps happened, which is a whole other
So
can of
I don't
worms, right? But
know if maybe just because she walked off, like she said, okay, I'm done versus Missy's where they had to like stop the music for her and say this routine is over. Like maybe it's just like who initiates this routine ending
Yeah.
yeah,
determines if it's a DNF or maybe you just decided to only do a 30-second routine. There's nothing that says it has to be a minimum. It
Yeah.
just says it
That's
can be a
true.
2-minute maximum. Maybe that's like the determining factor, but I was really shocked to see her with a score and in the
mhm,
rankings.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Especially, yeah, because now she's
10th,
now 10th in the world, even though she didn't
yeah,
technically finish.
And now I will say, oh my gosh, of course it's like coulda, shoulda, woulda, but I'm like, man, where would her routine have ranked?
mm,
Because she could have shook all of this up, at least
Yeah.
in that top, at least in that 4 or 5 range, because
Mhm.
I think, now I haven't seen Amy's routine this year, but I saw her routine last year. I think she would have beaten Michaela in routine. And Michaela got fourth in routine, I think.
I think so. Let me just try if I can sort here.
Oh,
Yeah.
But I
yeah.
think you're right.
Go first.
Magic sort. I love me some Excel spreadsheets. Yeah,
I
Michaela was
mean,
fourth
yeah,
in routine.
Michaela scored very high in routine. I
She
think that
did.
Amy would have beaten her.
Mhm.
And so that would have put Amy in the top 5, I think. I think she would have beaten Tam.
Ooh, that would have
Yeah,
been, yeah, because
that would have
Amy's
been a ruin.
style is more like she does hand bouncing and she's pretty
Mhm.
powerful also
Yes,
compared
she
to like,
does it all. Oksana does her routine, and
yeah.
she beat Tam at Chattanooga for this qualification that she got. And
Mhm.
it was basically the same thing. Tam got first in physique, Amy got second, but then Amy got first in routine, and Tam got second. And
Yeah,
so I'm like, ooh, I think Amy would have been in that top 5 if she would have finished her routine,
yeah,
which is just crazy to imagine. Like you would have been in the could potentially. She did say her routine was risky because I asked her how she was feeling beforehand. And she's like, I'm just really nervous. It's a good routine, but it's pretty risky skill wise. So, I mean, who knows? Maybe she would have gone and like shit the bed or something. But
yeah.
I always base every prediction off of everyone doing their best.
Yep.
Hmm.
Um, so I'm like, man, if Amy would have been able to finish that routine, she might have been in that
Yeah,
mix. So I'm excited to see her routine at Chattanooga. I know she's
she's
been in
chomping
prep
at the
since
bit.
January. Yeah, she's been in prep since January. She was ready 10 weeks out.
Yeah.
Like
Mm. Yeah, that conditioning.
I was actually really surprised in the physique round that she ranked so low is completely relative, right? She got fifth in physique. She didn't rank so low. But I her conditioning on stage in her poses, and I think this is also maybe a little bit intentional, was not like it is on Instagram. Like, and it's not to say that Instagram is fake, but I just think what she posts on Instagram is like when she has a pump and she just left the gym and she's doing these poses and she has this lighting and she's like super duper vascular. She didn't look like that on stage.
Mm.
She looked tight, right? I mean, look at her legs. But if you compare that to like her post workout selfies,
Good one.
She's like
Oh
grainy
yeah.
in those
yeah,
shots,
like,
right?
yes, I
Yeah.
remember thinking this chick is going to look like a women's physique competitor on stage. I remember thinking her conditioning is too much. And then I saw her on stage and I was like, oh, you, yeah, I feel like you actually could stand to be a 1% tighter.
Hmm.
So, I mean, she looks great. I mean, I actually love her physique, but I was a little surprised that she looked the way that she looked on stage, because obviously I only see her on Instagram. And yes, on Instagram, she is always posting like her very grainy looking shots.
Yeah.
And of course, that's
Like,
not the
look
look.
at that.
That's, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, of course, that's not the look for our division. So maybe that's the whole point. It's like, yes, I can post this in the gym, but that's not what I'm going to put on stage. It's the same as when Jen Dory looks like a figure competitor when she's at Dragon's Lair, but when she gets on stage, you don't see any of that stuff. But I will
Yeah.
just say I was surprised by her conditioning because I thought it was going to look more conditioned. So I'll be
Over
interested to
conditioned.
see what she looks like.
Yeah.
I'll be interested to see what she looks like at Chattanooga. I don't know if Tam is doing Chattanooga, so that'll be interesting because I think that's going to be a
Mhm.
close battle. Kristen Pope is doing Chattanooga. I know we're still talking about the
Yeah.
Olympia, but
That's going to be interesting. Yeah.
so so I'm really interested to see how all of this
Yeah.
unfolds over the next week.
Yeah. I hope it goes well for her given
Yeah, I
the
just want her to
disappointment
like
of the
her
Olympia, you
routine.
know.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. You don't want
I
that for
know.
anybody.
I
It's a
know.
tough
And like
break, and
she qualified last October
that's a long wait.
and
Oh,
then had to it basically prepped that entire year. She qualified and prepped for a year for the Olympia and then got to the Olympia and had that happen or whatever.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Uh,
I think we've
it's a
got to.
it's a nightmare.
Yeah. Every time anybody new posts, I mean, Steph was her the way that she posted was really, really interesting because she posted it
Mhm.
back to back. Here's what the music
Mhm.
was supposed to be, and here's what it
It was
was,
incredible.
right? And I mean, I think obviously, Andrea, you were there. I was watching the live stream, and you didn't quite, you could tell something was a little bit funky on the live stream, but it
Right.
wasn't quite as clear just because we weren't actually obviously in the venue. But when you hear it side by side, or you know what music is supposed to sound like,
Supposed to be.
I mean, it's a rough go because it is really disorienting. And I mean,
Yeah.
it happened with other athletes, right? It happened with Andrew Jacked, his music. I mean, they didn't check it. That was
Freelon.
probably also because he had like profanity in it and they were like, nope. But it happened with Breon as well, right? He was just like, that's not my
Yeah.
music, which
Well, with
obviously
Andrews,
sucks.
he made it seem like Andrew made a post about it.
Oh,
And
I haven't seen that.
he kind of made it seem like they played the wrong version. Like, I don't know if they submit their music or if they just
Mhm.
tell them the song, but he like put, there were three songs and then he put the names of the songs and then he said in parentheses, should have played the clean version. So he made it seem
Yeah.
like not my fault you guys played the one with profanity. And then he said, then they put on this song, and then he said they were just like looping, which is what Amy said about her music. Like they were just, and then who was it?
Breon's
Shelly,
music. Oh, Shelly,
Breon said,
sorry.
yeah, we saw Breon say, this isn't my
That's not
music.
my music. Yeah.
Shelly said that her music was just cut off like 20 seconds less. Stephanie said her music was like sped up. And I'm like, this is the Olympia. What? I mean, and I know that Taylor's music was messed up and like,
I can hear the echo in
again,
Jacqueline's. Like, I think everyone had some
yeah,
sort of,
it's like Michelle Gales said that her music was echoing like that, but she didn't like realize that there was something wrong. She just thought that's just what it sounds like in this venue. Like, so she's like, I didn't even think about it
yeah,
until people were saying, like, was your music messed up? Was your music messed up? And then she was like, oh, yeah, it was. I just thought it just sounded bad. Like, I'm like, that is
it's,
so
yeah,
unbelievably frustrating, especially for
especially,
fitness and classic. Like,
yeah,
but especially for fitness because we're judged on our routines. Like classic,
yeah.
at least, classic and actually men's bodybuilding is judged on theirs too.
Mhm. But I think the thing that drives me nuts is, are they judged on their routines? Yes. Are they judged on musicality?
Yes,
No.
no,
Right?
exactly. Yeah.
Where part of our score is doing
Is
a good
the
job to the music, interpreting that music. When the music is long, you stretch with it. If
yeah,
it's a hit, you hit on the, so to have, if you're trying to do
or
a
yeah,
sharp movement on the hit and the hit happens twice, and then it seems weird and they aren't really sure if you were on your
Right.
music or
Yeah.
off your music, of course you're going to get scored down. So it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like being like, ooh, do your routine on a stage, but then there's holes in it. Have fun. Like,
Right.
of course
Asian
it's
sports.
gonna impact everyone, which is
Legion
really tough.
Sports Fest, Chris Minnis. I hope you're watching this podcast. Get a new stage. I'm sick of Legion. I
That's
would do Legion every year. That show is so cool. But that stage is the deal breaker for me.
Oh,
Honestly.
I watch like this. And like every time
You
someone does
can
a tumble, I'm
literally
like,
see the stage fly up when Allison landed her tumbling. It's like, I'm like, oh, absolutely not.
so
That's
who was
scary.
scary.
it
Yep.
last year when what's her name? Was doing she's a pro wrestler or was a
Oh, Taylor Rossi.
yeah. Like when I remember seeing the panel coming like way up when she did her thing. I was like like is she okay? Is that stage okay?
Oh,
It's
Like
not
brutal.
It's not okay. I remember going to warm up and I was like, oh, I'm gonna need a full practice. Like I always like to go, like if at check-ins, if I'm allowed to get on the stage, I want to get on the stage because I don't want to, y'all know how it is when you're warming up, like everybody's there and you're trying to like, no, I need time by myself to walk the stage, mark my routine, make adjustments, spacing adjustments that I need to make, like any skill adjustments that I need to make, like if there's connections on the floor that I want to make sure I miss. Like, so I like to go by myself the day before if I can. I went up there and I was like, oh, this 10 minutes is not going to be enough. I need a full practice on this stage because I need to make sure that tomorrow I'm not terrified to be up here. And I was like, this show, I would do this show every year because it's big. It's like a little mini art. It's like
yeah.
there's other sports, there's a full expo, like it's the superhero theme is cool. Like you get a jacket. At most shows, they're not giving out swag like that anymore. Like you get a whole track jacket. Like it's a whole cool production, and the stage is complete ass. So I'm like, sorry, I'm not doing it. Not doing it. I'm ready to sleep. Anybody else? Who else? Allison being in the top four was huge, amazing.
Yeah, that's her first
Um,
time getting to the top five at the Olympia.
yeah.
That's awesome.
Mhm. Um, let's see. Yeah, I think that's just really exciting for her because she had a low ranking last year and they kind of ate her up in her feedback. I mean, they didn't eat her up, but they basically were like, you we need to see something new from you. We we are over it. They didn't say that, obviously, but they basically told her, like, we're past this. We need something new. So, obviously, her physique they already told her she needs to get more condition, but her routine, they basically said, like, we feel like we're just seeing the same thing over and over from you. So, her taking that time off. So, I feel like this was really good redemption and, just really exciting for her because she took the feedback. And I think that that helped her.
Yeah.
Like, because of course it's a competition against other people, but I do think 100% to a degree they are judging you against yourself. And if you significantly improve for yourself, I think that gives you an edge
Yeah.
over other people where it might be close.
Hmm.
Yep.
Like,
Yep. Knowing you through a
like
new
I,
skill that you didn't have.
yeah, exactly. Like I think that, who's an example? We'll use Allison as an example. I think that if Allison was already coming in the way that she came in at the Olympia, I think if that was her baseline, actually, that's a bad example because Allison has like a really incredible physique. Let's say Taylor. I think if what Taylor brought to this year's Olympia, physique wise, if that was her baseline, I don't know that it would have ranked as high. It ranked high because it was impressive, because it was significantly better than last time.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Because then you have the
now,
judges looking at you for
again,
longer, which
exactly. Again, not to take away, she looked amazing. Her shape is her shape. It's hard to get that shape. Like her waist is probably like 18 inches. Her shoulders and her back are, I mean, again, with all of her skills that she does, like they're just naturally going to be incredible. But I'm just like, I don't know. If this was the first time you saw her on stage, would you have made that high? You know what I mean? Or like just even with just with anyone. You know what I mean? With routines. Routines especially because they're so subjective. I feel like you could tell someone like I'm trying to think of whose routine ranked like moderately low-ish. Amber Steffen. Amber,
Two
I think,
six.
has a
Yeah.
great routine.
Mhm.
So say, okay, that's perfect. Like, but they gave her specific feedback. And it's like, if they didn't tell you to do something better and then saw you improve it, would they have thought that that was that good? I mean, personally, I like Amber's routine, so maybe that's a bad example. But all that to say is, I think there's a level of judging you against yourself.
Yeah.
Um, that I mean, that's a good thing because obviously they want you to make improvements and you want to show them that you're listening. Because I also think that's how my routine. I mean, my routine was ranking high-ish anyway, but I think that's how my routine continued to rank high because I competed for Becky 3 times. She saw
Mm.
that same routine at 3 different shows, and every time she saw it, it was better. You know what I mean? So I think that that
100%.
helped me. I even said that I used that in my strategy. I was like, oh, whatever Becky's judging, I'm doing it because I know she's gonna know what I did better, and
Yeah.
she's gonna reward me for that
Yep.
because she already liked my routine the way it was. She gave me feedback. She's gonna see me. Same thing. I did the same routine for Tangi twice.
Mhm.
So I think there's like a level of competing against yourself, improving, comparing you against yourself.
Yeah.
People can
Just
use to
makes it easy to
strategize.
get feedback, more consistent
Mhm.
feedback anyway, that way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. Like I
Yep.
wish we knew. I mean, some shows tell you what judges are going to be there. I'm like, I need to know where these judges are going to be.
Yeah.
So I know where these judges are going to be just
Yeah.
for strategy purposes. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because at least for pros, strategy is huge. Like strategy is a huge part of doing well, I think. Like even for my husband, same thing. Like he's like, if I'm in front of this judge, this is the pose I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
If I'm in front of this judge, this is the pose I'm gonna do. This judge likes straightforward Superman, so that's the one I'm gonna do at that show.
Well, yeah, because especially because some judges like people to come in like harder, more conditioned, like that's what they favor, versus others are like more shape people. So then you want to pose differently to show off your shape differently, or just be as dry as hell, whatever it is.
Yeah, well, that's how it
Yeah.
was at Titans. Like Tamer is what I discovered. I didn't know that before the show, but Heather told me she's like, "Oh yeah, Tamer, El Gundy." She's like, "He's a shape guy." I'm like, "Oh, well, that makes sense. Why in that lineup, me and Taylor were
Mm,
the top two
Yeah.
that
because
does make sense.
probably
Yeah.
probably at another show it would have been Jenny and Anya and maybe even Kristen Pope. Like, but at that particular show, it was me and Taylor because he's a shape
Shape.
guy. He's like, okay, I'm going to favor the people with better shape, so
Yeah.
there's all sorts of strategy involved.
Yeah. Well, and even as an amateur, it's if I knew, and I mean, granted, I'm reasonably lucky in that a couple of the judges in Washington have come up here, and they often come up for the Van Pro. So we have two judges on the panel that know fitness, but like as an amateur, being able to choose a show, because obviously, would I like to get my pro card? Do I hope to get there eventually? Yes. Am I at the stage still where there's like a lot to grow and build and whatnot? Also, yes. So going into a show where I knew that I was going to get feedback that was not just so generic that I didn't quite understand what they actually
Mhm.
wanted. If I knew, hey, if I can do this show and get really good specific feedback, obviously there's subjectivity and certain people are going to want this and certain people are going to want that. But I think as and anyone that's still trying to kind of figure out what their particular interpretation of the expectation for a fitness routine is, having that
Mhm.
specific feedback versus a judge like, what did I had one and they were just like, keep improving your physique. Like, will do. Yep,
Not keep
yep. Your
improving. At
physique
least
needs
give
to
me a
your
red.
physique needs to keep improving. And I'm like, it's almost like this is let me think about it.
Keep
Bodybuilding.
improving.
Oh,
At least tell me a
right?
body part.
Right? It is like, I mean, I guess
At
it's good
least
that I
tell
don't
me a
have
muscle
one
group.
area that's so lacking that, you know, that you, which I mean, I guess in a way was a weird sort of improvement for me because usually they're like, oh, your legs are too big for your upper body. But like having valuable feedback as an amateur when you're still trying to figure out your particular niche and fitness
Mhm.
routine, like having that would be really good. But, you know, take what we can get, I guess. Talk to each other about it. But
Literally, just use each other as our own feedback.
yeah,
Trying to think if there's
exactly.
any other fitness surprises or things that were really exciting. I don't think there's anything.
I did, oh, going back to Missy real quick, just I was surprised. I did not expect her to be wearing her brace still.
Me either. And let me tell you, I was extremely relieved.
Yep.
I told her, I saw her, I said, I am so glad you wore that knee brace because I was terrified.
Yeah.
She's like,
Yeah.
she goes, I should have been wearing it all weekend.
Oh my God.
Oh,
I completely agree. I was not expecting it, but I was pleasantly surprised when I
Yeah.
saw her in a race on stage. I
Yeah.
was like,
So
oh,
every time she did, I mean, when she was doing back handspring step out. So I was like, okay, that's safer. That's good. But every time she did back tuck, I was like, ugh. Is she
she's
gonna
oh,
land
you could see the
okay?
relief on her face too when she landed it. She kind of like, we're all like, oh, yeah,
that
Don't break
was,
anything. Don't break anything.
I
Yeah.
would listen,
yeah.
I wouldn't have made any time.
Yeah. Actually, that's an interesting thing to kind of touch on is obviously she had to slightly modify her routine style because of her knee, right? Usually she is kind of one of the high flyers where she had to
Yeah.
do things a little closer to the ground, a little bit more strength movements and whatever. And it'll be interesting to see in the next year. I mean, I assume she generally just does the Olympia. I would be surprised to see her at the Arnold's, but it'll be interesting to see in the next, year, even maybe two,
Mhm.
how that
What do you think
evolves,
about
right?
that?
Is she going to go
Yeah.
back to more high flying as soon as she's able? Is this going to be kind of a turning point where she starts to focus more
Yeah.
on kind of strength movements? That'll be interesting to see. And it'll be interesting to see whatever she does, how the
Yeah.
judges feel about it.
I don't know. I kind of think that she will. I think that once she gets back to it, I don't think that she'll rely on it anymore
I think you're right.
because she used to rely on it. She did get feedback. Listen, I know everybody's feedback. She did get
I love
feedback
that.
3 years ago, Boston Pro, whenever they did Boston Pro that one time. And I think maybe the last time she was at the Arnold, I think she won the Arnold that year.
Mhm.
Um, they basically said, like Sandy said, this is it's it's starting to feel like just a tumbling routine. Like we're
Yeah.
missing the other skills. So I think she started to find that balance. I think she will bring back those power skills, but I do think that especially with Taylor in the mix, she's gonna know she knows that she's gonna have to be able to be somewhat comparable in some of the strength aspects, especially because you also have Ariel who wasn't at the Olympia, but Ariel is very strong in those skills too. In
I
my
was gonna
opinion,
say,
to be honest, Ariel's one of the only competitors that I think can keep up with Taylor as far as just straight up level of difficult strength balance skills.
yeah.
Um, I don't think she
Well,
necessarily always choreographs those skills, but I think that when it comes down to just like raw talent, I think that Ariel's one of the only people that can already do a lot of skills that would be comparable.
yeah.
Um,
Mhm. Well, and I think on that point too, there was one skill that Missy put in her routine that Ariel
the
did and
Ariel,
really spotlit the
Yeah.
that like side. Yeah, you know
Yes.
what I mean, right? It's like she
Oh,
comes
I
out from a
knew. I
handstand
remember
and
when she posted that
oh
skill on
yeah,
Instagram. I was like,
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, right. So I mean, for anyone that maybe isn't quite as obsessively familiar with the routines, essentially it's kind of like a handstand, and then she kind of comes down on the side, which is kind of facing sideways, and it's like a
yeah,
side croc.
It's called
Um,
a, I think it's called a QDR or QDL. I
but
that
forget.
she
makes
didn't
sense.
hold it.
Yeah,
Ariel
yeah,
holds it. But
right. But she does a
I
great job,
remember,
and
I remember her
yeah.
posting that when she was working on it last year. I almost feel like it was in last year's routine, but then she got hurt
Mhm.
because she posted that skill
Interesting.
on Instagram last year. And I
Mm.
remember being like, oh, what's the tea? Is she really doing this skill? Because
It
I feel
is
like this is
also,
like
I
an
mean,
aerial signature skill.
yeah.
Like a
Mhm.
lot of skills we all do, right? Like there's a lot of skills that are recycled, but I also feel like, I don't know, that's giving aerial Kadar. Like
Yeah,
that feels like a
yeah,
signature skill to me.
Yeah. Well,
But
it's
anyway, I mean, obviously you
interesting
can do whatever you want, but
because she trained, I don't know if she still trains with him, but she trained with Steve Atlas, and I did one session with him once. And that is a
mhm.
skill that he had me like learn, like,
No.
yeah. So I wonder if she's always had it in her back pocket, but didn't like pull it out for a while. And now she's like, well, and then decided to because she had to like go with more strength skills and stuff.
Maybe,
yeah.
maybe. I don't know. I'm really interested to see, like you said, one. Honestly, I think a year will be enough for her to come. I mean, she already did what she did
Yeah,
in 1 year. I think one more year, she's back to doing
yeah,
some big power skills.
Yeah.
yeah.
So
And
yeah,
it'll be
I just
interesting to
think that
see, because next year, I mean, and this is going to sound really cynical to say, which isn't necessarily how I mean it, but right next Olympia, her comeback is over, right? There isn't
mhm,
that same like heart connection to
mhm.
like, oh, she came back, right? So it'll be interesting
Yeah,
to see kind of the combination of what she brings from the high flying routines she used to do,
yeah.
what strength moves she does, and how those compare to people like Taylor and Ariel, and how the
Next
judges feel once
year,
the kind of excitement of that comeback is worn off. That'll be really interesting
next year is
balance.
going to be wild.
Oh yeah,
I'm just thinking about this.
because Ariel,
So
I hope will be back too. So that's
Ariel
another
will be back.
big, yeah.
Ariel will be back. Now, here's the really crazy part. It's not that crazy, but it's just a little bit interesting to me. So Jacqueline's already qualified. Taylor's already qualified. Mrs. already qualified. Okay, fantastic. Arnold comes up. I'm pretty sure that Ariel is planning to do the Arnold because she posted
I think
something, but
so.
now I think the post is gone.
Hmm.
But it was long enough. It was there long enough for me to see it. So
I mean,
I
and
think
she's a
Ariel.
three-time champ, so I think that I'd be surprised not to see her.
So Ariel comes back, maybe wins. I don't know. I think
Mm,
Jacqueline could do it, especially if Ariel's been off this whole time. Like she'll be coming back from an injury too. Is she going to be at her best? Is her physique going to be at her best? Um, so even if she doesn't win the Arnold, though, she's going to win something. She'll do a Della Garcia. She'll do something.
Yeah.
So Ariel's going to be
mm,
on the list for next year.
mm.
Then you have Allison, who was in fourth place this year. Like you just think of the top five. You have Missy, Jacqueline, Taylor, Allison. I assume Tam at some point is going to try to qualify and qualify.
Mm.
You have maybe Amy, who would have been in that top five if she didn't finish her routine. And then you have Ariel. I'm like, that. And then you have Shelly.
Yep.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's already eight people.
Yeah, that
Is
could get top five.
is
Yeah,
That's
Whitney
already
done?
eight people that we would expect. Like, if you were just like, okay, let me name a top five, somebody would name each of those people would be in somebody's top five.
100%.
Is Whitney done? Is she
I think
retired?
Whitney's done.
Okay. Because she never
No,
made it.
she's moved on with her life.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
mean, I think
I don't
I
know.
know she's got she's had injuries and stuff too. So, I mean, I think that
Yeah.
she maybe did
She's
like
had an
kind of
injury.
a soft retirement. But I mean, if she came back, I wouldn't be shocked. Um, but I mean, she's another person.
Yeah.
If she did end up there, then you're looking at nine people in five spots, and that's a whole
Or
adventure.
someone decides to push out a baby and then just jump back on stage.
I mean, I wouldn't put it past her,
What's
honestly.
that?
Like,
Yeah, I agree. Okay, you want dessert? Go eat ice cream. Yeah, it's gonna be wild. So it's gonna be interesting, like when the list comes out. Okay, Reagan, you can't get ice cream because it's all gone. That means you already had three. And anyway, when the show list comes out, because this is what I did last year, is like now you start thinking, Reagan, oh my gosh, crop this part out. Hold on. So sorry, I'm gonna make you edit. How many minutes are
All
we in?
right.
Hold on.
Yeah, I mean, if Whitney and Missy, or sorry, Whitney and Oksana both came back too, that'd be ridiculous.
Hmm.
So,
And
okay. Oh, go
I
ahead.
mean, I'm looking at last year's list too, because I mean, both Darian and Sarah both
Sarah.
took this year off, right? And both of them, I mean, they were like, they are powerhouses in the
Yeah.
division too. So, I
Sarah
mean, you
got
throw them
six
in there.
last year.
Yeah.
Sarah got six last year. Like,
Yeah. So
I
you
feel like
throw them in there
Darian's
too.
soft retired as well, but I'm not really sure if she's still bodybuilding or if she just took a break.
Yeah.
Um, but like the show list is gonna come out, and I'm like, okay, Legion's already gone. Allison.
Mm.
Then there's Chattanooga. My assumption is that that's going to be Tam or Amy.
Yeah.
Now, maybe someone takes us by surprise. I don't see anybody else beating Tam or Amy. Like, I
But then,
just
you know,
don't.
Kristen, if she ends up in third, say, I mean, you know, she's gotten so close enough times that she's
She's,
probably going to be hunting for one of those qualifications too. And
yeah,
with how many finish shows there are, then you're just got this list of people that are like, oh, I came second here. And then you just, yeah,
exactly.
there's just
It's,
not enough shows for all of the people that could be
exactly.
in the top five.
That's exactly what it is. There's not enough shows that people, and this, we're going to circle all the way back to my conversation about points, is that there will be people that deserve to be at the Olympia that won't make it.
Yeah.
And which is why I think that points are valuable specifically for our division,
Yeah.
because there's just not enough shows
Yeah.
to get everyone that realistically is good enough, right? Like it's kind of relative,
Yeah.
but good
But I mean,
enough should be
Amber
at the Olympia.
Amber came close to this year, and I mean, you would
Yeah,
be hard pressed to argue that she isn't deserving. And you know, I don't want
exactly.
to say she
We
almost
got
missed it, but like
what
it
she
took
get
her.
eighth.
Yeah, I think so. Let me just oh, oh,
Yeah, I mean, it took
sort.
Amber 3 shows,
Yep.
Yeah,
3, 4 shows. I think it like I was like telling Allison or someone, I was like, I'm the only person to be honest. I said, Amber is the only other person besides me that didn't win out of that lineup because I was saying like how strong that lineup was. I was like,
mhm.
Amber's the only other person besides me that took more than 2 tries. I was like, and I'm
Yeah,
the only person that ranked consistent like top 3 in more than 3 shows and didn't qualify.
yeah.
But it's like, yeah, so Allison or Tam or Amy's probably gonna win. Chattanooga. Then we have Ben Weeder, which weeds out a lot of people. Um,
Adams is doing Chattanooga. Do you think she has a chance?
who?
Anna?
Anna Adams.
Yeah, she's doing. She's.
I
I know
don't.
she's completely changing her routine.
I
Oh,
don't.
interesting.
I don't think that she has a chance at Chattanooga. I think that
Specifically.
she has the chance this year.
Yeah,
I think that Chattanooga is going to be the Amy and Tam show. And I don't think anybody, I think it's going to be 1, 2, and then
everyone else.
3 down here. I mean, that's how it was last year.
Yep.
Amy and Tam got first and second. I got third, and I don't think that I was close to them. Although they did tell me that I almost got second in routine, but I didn't. I don't think that I almost got second in routine because it was unanimous scoring. So I'm like, almost getting second means there was a 1 point split. Like
Yeah,
Yeah,
right. The
maybe there
points
was
were a little
discussion.
unanimous is
closer.
I'm like, maybe there
yeah,
was discussion, but ultimately you all decided that I deserved third. So I didn't almost get second.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, yeah.
but I'm just
That's not what
saying,
you
like,
meant. I was saying. Yeah,
even last year I got third, and I think there was a gap between first and second, and then me and the rest of the field. So I think it's going to be the same thing. I think that there will be people like Kristen Pope, there will be people like Anna Adams who have the potential to win shows, but Chattanooga is not going to be the show. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'll eat my words. Maybe they're going to show up firing and amazing. Um, I just, I mean, Tam just
Yeah.
got second in the world in the physique round.
That's true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
And
Tam is fifth in
fifth.
the world. Tam is fifth in the world. Do you like you're going to beat her?
That's true.
Yeah.
Like realistically, let's think about it that way.
Yeah.
Like this is fifth in the world. I
Yeah.
don't think she's going to show up to Chattanooga and get beat by someone you know what I mean? Like I just don't see it happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
that's
and the
even how
thing
I felt
that's
going to Dan. I was like, I mean, on paper I could win, but realistically, last time she was at the Olympics, she got six. Like I'm probably not going to beat her.
yeah. Well, the thing that's interesting to kind of like go back to the points of conversation again is like, I mean, I fully get the whole if you do it for one division, you have to do it for the other. It's like you know, giving kids candy. If you give one kid a lollipop, everyone else is going to get a lollipop too, right? Like, and yet, I think there's this little part of me that's just probably hopelessly optimistic. It's like, oh, but if you did points for like, I don't know, just fitness and maybe like women's bodybuilding. But I mean, even they had way more competitors than we did. They had almost say like 16 or 20 or something. I can't remember exactly. But like, here's the thing I think with fitness. If you gave in a magical, probably entirely hypothetical world, if you gave just fitness points and there were 20 of us at the next Olympia, that's, I mean, even 18, 17, 18, let's
Yeah.
say, right? Then you have more people. It's a bigger division that's on stage longer. There's more of us. There's more people talking about the Fitness Olympia. It becomes a bigger thing, which then can
Yeah.
spur on. There's
Down.
more
Yeah.
interest that trickles to more shows. So then you have more people qualifying like just by winning, and like it could really get the ball rolling. Whereas now it's like, oh yeah, there's only if there's what like 10 or 11 chances total.
Yeah.
And if the same people do a couple of shows and win three or
Multiple.
four,
Exactly.
then that narrows it down, right? So it's like just having that
Mm.
momentum to get
Yeah.
forward. And I mean, I think I said this to you, Andrew, when we were at the Van Pro. It's like it trickles down to an amateur level in a lot of ways. And I mean, obviously that's where I'm at, so I think about that kind of just as much. But it's like the number of times where, and for context for people that aren't as familiar, Van Pro Am, I competed, and then the next day, Andrea and the pros competed. Right, I was the only one, and the number of people that were like, "Oh, what are you doing? Why are you in that outfit?" Or like, "Oh, what's
Yeah.
fitness?" Or like, "I thought that was gone," and it's just like, ah. And so that's why like hanging out with you guys the next day was so nice. Like other people that do what I do, right? But like having that trickle down to the amateur level, I think is so key because you have people that have been at this for a while. You have a lot of really seasoned vets that aren't going to do this forever. And you have people coming up, but yeah, I think there's probably more people retiring than there are people replacing those people
Right.
right now. And if you don't have that new influx of people going into the division and you don't have that kind of competition at that level, then you know
Yeah.
it's hard to keep that ball rolling, which I know
Yeah.
fitness division we talk about a lot, but
I
yeah,
definitely
nice.
think they, I sent an email. I sent an email straight to Tony Blinn or whatever his name is. And I just said, like, you know, I forget exactly what my email said, but I just basically was like, I don't know what we can do as competitors, like to get more opportunities for fitness competitors to qualify for the Olympia. And then I mentioned, I know that wheelchair does still have points because they have a limited number of shows. Like, so I'm just thinking, even if they just say, okay, for divisions that have X amount of shows or below, maybe it's 15 shows, maybe it's, whatever, 20 shows, maybe it's 10 shows. I don't know what it is. But maybe
Have a
it's not
threshold.
like, oh, we're, yeah, have a specific threshold, not just like, oh, well, we're going to do it for fitness just because we decided for fitness. No, like there's a threshold. The number is this many, because there will be divisions like women's bodybuilding who maybe some years they meet that threshold and some years they don't. So it's like, this is the number.
It's a clear metric.
A lot of shows are also changing what they're offering. Okay, this year they had it, last year they didn't, next year they will, next year that, like, so if they just have a measurable, okay, this is the number. If your division has this many shows or less, you're doing points.
Yeah,
If it
I
has
think that's a
more,
great idea.
you're not doing points. You win, you're in.
Yeah,
Maybe I'll win something next year, or maybe I'll hope they let us.
great to see you up there.
I'm not competing that many times next year. It's not gonna happen.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's a
It's
good weekend, y'all.
yeah,
Now on to the Arnold. Not
yeah.
really. We still have two shows before the Arnold, but you know, the next big one where there could be a lot of excitement. Obviously Jacqueline, potentially Ariel.
Yeah,
Allison's probably back in for that. Taylor might be in. Like,
yeah. I think there's a lot of names there, particularly because of the fact that, and I mean, I don't know how similar the judging panel was in the Arnold, like US versus UK last year.
mhm,
But having one Arnold be Ariel and Jacqueline in second, and then one Arnold be Jacqueline and Ariel in second, I think
yeah,
that's interesting as heck. I, want to watch that and see how that pans out, particularly given where they're both at, and
yeah.
yeah.
I just think it'll be very interesting, especially because neither the US Arnold or the UK Arnold, like, they were both very close. Um,
Mhm.
but Jacqueline at the UK Arnold got second in both rounds. She didn't even win either round, and she won the show.
Mm,
So it'll
yeah,
be
it's true.
interesting if, now she's able to, bring an improved physique, because that's really like what kind of killed her last year, was her physique at the Arnold it wasn't
Wasn't
what she
quite dialed in.
expects. So, yeah, it wasn't, I think, what she expects for herself. So it'll be interesting now, because I feel like she's kind of like starting to nail her physique. Mom, what
And her
happened?
posing too.
So
Yeah,
yeah. So I'm super excited about that. But
yeah.
we got the list for Chattanooga coming out in 4 days. Reagan, stop.
That'll be exciting.
Yeah, I cannot
It's gonna be
wait.
a really
It's
big
gonna be a
show.
big
There's so many people competing.
It's going to be a
Mm.
big show. I keep like a running list, because of the type of person that I am. I keep a running list of every single show, like who's competing. Reagan, stop. Like, as soon
I
as
love
I
that,
hear his name, I'm
honestly.
like, yep, onto the list, onto the list, onto the list. Just like,
Yeah.
so Chattanooga is looking, I mean, pretty big right now. Like, definitely Amy. So the definites are Amy, Kristen Pope, Jenny Worth, Karina, Heather, um, Michelle Blondin. Let's see.
Corey is doing it.
Corey,
Anna's
Anna,
doing it.
and then there's also maybe Tam. I think
Mm.
that's everyone that I've heard of.
So that's a lot of people that are vying for a spot, even,
A lot of
Oh,
people.
yeah. And then Ben Weeder is how many weeks after?
Is
10?
What's her name? Allison Ethier coming back and doing Chattanooga?
Okay.
Oh, I thought she kind of
I don't
self-retired, but who knows?
I don't know, because so we have a Facebook group, a like fitness pros
Pros?
Facebook group. And Anna posted, hey, anybody going to Chattanooga, if you want to stay or whatever. Sorry, my daughter's like deconstructing her pull-up. If you want to stay, I'm going to look for an Airbnb. Let me know. And Jessica Z said, maybe me, although I don't think she's competing, because she's out living her life in the Grand Canyon right now. took a whole week
She's
off
off on
and
all the adventures.
Yeah.
yeah, she was in Vegas for the whole week and she's literally still travel like she's still out in Arizona. Like she's living her best life. She ain't competing next week. But then Allison said it too. She's like, I might be. And I'm like, oh, are you back? Are you unretired? I couldn't tell if she was like just coming to watch because she just wanted to be, but I'm like, why would she travel all the way from where she lives to come watch? But
Yeah.
See her post.
Chattanooga's offering masters.
Ooh.
So going
Oh.
home. So I feel like that could be like she might be doing it because she's like, well, this is one of only a few shows that are going to offer this 40 plus masters, my opportunity to qualify for the Olympia masters. Reagan, go over there. So I don't know. I'll be
Yeah.
very interested to see if she actually is on the list or not.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
This trick.
Well,
So
and
yeah,
that's another thing that's interesting to talk about is the Masters Olympia too.
so this is how shady I am. This is how petty I am. If I were Jacqueline, I'd be like, sorry, y'all. I'll see you in Tokyo. Let me go win this Masters Olympic.
Ah,
That's what Jessica Reyes Padilla does in figure.
yeah. Yep.
Like she's
Yep.
like, oh, I'm masters. Yeah, you sure are. Listen, if I'm 40, I'm doing it. How
Yeah.
pissed would these people be? Honestly, if I'm Jenny Word, I'm pissed if Jacqueline's showing up to the Masters Olympia. Like, I'm like, please please let us have this. But
I'm gonna step away from the camera for a sec because I gotta plug in my phone.
Reagan, you need to go get a pull up now. I'll get it. Hold on, I'm pausing. She's back in the hallway.
I actually
So I
probably go to bed soon,
yeah,
so
I'm like, it's late
final
there.
word.
So I feel like we can wrap this up. But this was a good little chat.
Yeah,
It was.
this is good. Gotta do. You all want to do more recaps together? That would be because I've been wanting to do recaps, and I was like, I can't
Let's
do
do
it this year, but
yes,
Yeah.
recap, predictions, all the
Dude.
good stuff.
yeah.
Honestly, okay, this is gonna work.
Yeah, for recaps.
Oh,
Yeah, you used to
no.
do your recaps with videos. I remember your recaps.
Those took so much time to put together,
I
though. That's
know
why I
they
stopped doing
probably
it.
stuff. I know. Yeah. Okay. Well, I will talk to you guys later. It's
Yeah.
been
Yeah,
great.
this was fun.
Yeah. Thank you
Yeah,
both.
Yeah.
we'll chat more. Thank you for
Keep
staying up late.
keep keep us posted on that Chattanooga list.
I'll be the first person to post it. I just refresh the website all the time.
I always think like,
Incredible.
oh, I gotta do this before Andrew here, like has
Exactly.
it. And then you do it. I'm like, dang it, she got to it
That's
first.
so funny.
I'm on that website.
No.
I'm on that website. I'm like, listen, the deadline is at 3 p.m. Eastern. I'm like, that's noon my time. They usually don't post it until like 5 p.m. my time. Listen, I'm at 5 p.m. I just start refreshing like every few minutes or like whenever I get a free moment. I'm like, let me go see if the list is up. And usually
Yeah.
I just catch it. Like something tells me to refresh it minutes after they post it.
I love it. I love it. Incredible.
Maybe you'll beat me to it this time.
Yeah.
Probably not. I'm
Well, I feel like we could do
I'll
a
wait for the
whole other one
tag.
of these.
What?
Yeah.
Sorry, say that again.
Oh, we could do a whole other one of these for like, because the Masters Olympia, that's like what, a couple months away still. I feel like there's a whole bunch of there, and then Ben Weeder would be an interesting one to do too. And,
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
so much potential.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll see. All right.
Exactly.
Well, we'll talk to you guys later.
All right. Have a good
Sounds
night,
like a
everyone.
plan.
All right.
Thank y'all.
Bye.
Bye.